Hello, everyone. Today, we will revisit an international event that has had a significant impact on global politics in the 21st century. The official visit of U.S. President Donald Trump to Saudi Arabia, the first stop in his first Middle East trip as president. The choice of Saudi Arabia as the first destination was no accident. Throughout U.S. presidential history, the first overseas trip always holds symbolic value and reflects the strategic direction of the new administration. For Trump, starting his trip in Riyadh sent a clear message to the Muslim world that the U.S. seeks to rebuild trust and open a new chapter in its relationship with the Middle East after years of turbulence and doubt. Saudi Arabia is a strategic oil partner, a close ally in the fight against terrorism, and the religious center of the Muslim world, with the sacred cities of Mecca and Medina. Trump understood that if he wanted to reestablish influence in the Middle East and reshape the role of the U.S. in the region, there was no better place to begin than Riyadh. This trip was not just a diplomatic formality. It was accompanied by record-breaking trade and defense agreements, marking one of the largest bilateral deals in U.S.-Saudi history. The most notable of these was a $110 billion arms sale agreement, including defense equipment, tanks, radar, air defense systems, and high-tech weaponry. This step was aimed at helping Saudi Arabia modernize its defense forces, while sending a message that the U.S. is committed to protecting its allies from regional threats, especially from Iran. Beyond defense, the two countries also signed a series of cooperation agreements in energy, infrastructure, technology, and investment. U.S. companies were granted opportunities to access the potential market in the Gulf region, while Saudi Arabia gained additional resources to implement its national economic reform vision. Particularly, the establishment of the Global Center for Combating Extremist Ideology in Riyadh marked a new step in the global fight against terrorism. This center, supported by U.S. technology and experts, is a testament to the long-term and comprehensive cooperation between the two nations. One of the most memorable moments of the visit was Trump's speech before more than 50 Muslim heads of state during the U.S. Islamic summit. In his over 30-minute speech, Trump did not hesitate to call out extremist terrorism as the common enemy of humanity, while urging moderate Muslim countries to stand up against extremist organizations that exploit religion to incite violence. He emphasized that the U.S. was not there to impose lifestyles or interfere in the internal affairs of other countries, but to build partnerships based on shared interests and goals. Trump's message was strikingly pragmatic, differing from the moralistic and idealistic speeches of previous presidents. This time, he came as a negotiator, a businessman, and a leader seeking balance between economic interests and global security. "We are not here to lecture anyone," he said, "but to cooperate with each other, protect people from violence, and build a brighter future." The image of Trump, King Salman, and Egyptian President Abdel Fattah el-Sisi placing their hands on the glowing orb during the opening ceremony of the Counterterrorism Center quickly spread worldwide, becoming a visual symbol of a new alliance against extremism. The welcoming ceremony was grand, from the lavish motorcade to the traditional sword dance, all showing the special respect Saudi Arabia had for its guest from Washington. However, not all reactions were positive. Some Western critics argued that the Trump administration was trading human rights principles for economic and strategic interests. Others warned that such a large arms sale to Saudi Arabia could escalate tensions in the region, especially amidst the war in Yemen and the confrontation with Iran. In response, the White House emphasized that regional stability is a prerequisite for promoting Western values like democracy and human rights. Without security, all reforms are merely theoretical. The impact of this visit went beyond bilateral relations. It quickly triggered a ripple effect across the region. Iran, Saudi Arabia's long-standing adversary, felt more isolated than ever. The Tehran government accused Washington of dividing the region by openly choosing sides. Meanwhile, Israel, which also views Iran as its top threat, expressed strong support, seeing this as a sign that the U.S. was ready to work with the Sunni alliance to curb Tehran's nuclear ambitions. Gulf countries like the UAE, Bahrain, and Egypt also rapidly strengthened security cooperation with the U.S., paving the way for future historic normalization agreements. international media reactions were mixed. Prestigious newspapers, such as the Wall Street Journal and The Times, praised the visit as a bold move that helped the U.S. redefine its role in the Middle East. In contrast, outlets like CNN and The Guardian expressed skepticism, particularly about the lack of concrete commitments on political reform or human rights from Riyadh. In the Middle East, the media in Muslim countries viewed the visit with high expectations, believing it was a golden opportunity to renew relations that had often been strained with Washington. This event also provides valuable lessons for policymakers. First, choosing the right timing, message, and location can create global influence. Second, diplomacy is not just about signing agreements, but also about creating iconic media images. Finally, despite the changing world, the role of the U.S. in the Middle East remains irreplaceable, especially when the U.S. clearly demonstrates its stance and strong commitment, as it did during this visit. Trump's trip marked the beginning of a series of changes and restructuring alliances in the region. It also laid the groundwork for future diplomatic steps, including the normalization of relations between Israel and some Arab countries. Without this historic visit, these transformations might not have occurred as quickly or deeply. In conclusion, President Donald Trump's visit to Saudi Arabia was one of the most important milestones in contemporary U.S. foreign policy. It opened a new chapter in U.S. Islamic relations, reaffirmed America's role in the region, and laid the foundation for a new Middle East strategy, where security, cooperation, and pragmatic interests take precedence. Thank you for following today's speech.